And hello once more, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to episode 67 of A Druid's Dozen. My name's John. I'm known as the Rock Druid. Not a name I gave myself. It was one that was bestowed on me by a radio station boss a few years ago. I'm a radio DJ. I do a couple of radio shows. There's the Sunday Rock Show on BCFM radio in Bristol, not on local FM station, and there's the Rock Druid Show on the international science and music station astroradio.earth. Links to those shows are in the description down there on YouTube, over there on Facebook, to should you ever want to check them out. But I'm also a record collector. Been collecting records and CDs and that for many years. Got a fairly large collection, and this is me killing an hour or so on a Saturday afternoon waving some in front of the camera. So, without further ado, shall we start? Why not? And we'll have this one. Get me shades on. This is Whatever Happened to Slade by Slade from 1977. There is the front. There is the back. Whip this out. There's a lyric sheet in here. And slide the disc out. There we go, Barn Records. And no run out groove message. Now, this is one of Slade's most obscure albums, from a period when Slade weren't exactly flavour of the month. 1977, it's only 3 years since Slade had been at their height on a unbroken string of #1 singles and albums in the UK, achieving fame virtually everywhere in the world apart from the US and Canada. Massive in Japan, massive in Australia, massive across Europe. Reaching the highlight of their career with the In Flame album and movie, and it seemed the world was at their feet. Then punk came along, and for some reason, despite that Slade always did have a kind of anarchic punk vibe to them, Slade fell out of favour, and sort of like within 3 years they had lost their record deal and ended up being signed to Barn Records, a rather obscure UK indie. They had tried to break the States when Europe wasn't listening, and had a financially disastrous sort of 6 months over in the US. Came back absolutely skint, and managed to cobble together enough shekels to put this album out. This album was to be the last one they did before they had their very short breakup, where they renamed themselves the I'm trying to think what they called themselves. Anyway, they changed their name for a bit, did a couple of singles, and then came back as Slade, and well, the 80s was a better period for them. But this is a very interesting album. It's a pretty damn good album as well. Highlights on here include Gypsy Road Hog, which was a single off the album. Dead Man Tell No Tales, The Soul, The Roll and the Motion, It Ain't Love But It Ain't Bad. All good, typical Slade stuff. It's kind of up-tempo, it's in your face, it's kind of party anthems. And everything on this album is spelt, quote, correctly. Although I do get annoyed when people accuse Slade of spelling song titles wrong. They didn't, they just spelt them in a Black Country accent, so that when you read them out, it sounded like you're from the Black Country. Yeah, did you know that? Well, anyway. So it's a pretty good album. everyone's on form. You got yeah, everything's written by the classic duo of Jim Lee and Noddy Holder. Chaz Chandler stayed, was still a mate. The legend has it he waived some of his fees to produce this for him, because he was their regular producer, and made for a pretty good album. It's just a shame that no one took any notice of it at the time, and people have forgotten about it today. Yeah, if you're curious about Slade, this is a good album to buy. Actually, all of Slade's albums are pretty damn good, but yeah, I do have a big soft spot for this, and not just because it's obscurity value. It is a damn good album. Yeah. Whatever Happened to Slade by Slade, 1977. Okay, next up we'll have this. There's the front. This is 2013's Elite from Within the Ruins. There's the front. There is the back. That's what lays behind the disc. That is the disc. And there's a better look at the front of the booklet. Fold this out. We have lyrics there. There's a full picture, and down the sides there, and there we have the credits. And on this one, get back in there, you bastard. In this one, press release. I'll hold it up so if you really want to, you can pause it, zoom and read. There's the other side of the press release. Within the Ruins, very much a metal band. Out of Florida. And they're kind of, well, they're a metal band. They're kind of multi-sub-genre metal. There's hints of prog metal in here, there's bits of hardcore, there's bits of death metal. It just makes for a interesting and intense kind of listen. Pretty good. I do quite like this lot. Got a couple of other albums by these as well. Highlights on here, there's the title track, there's I Blaspheme, which is a superb number. Feeding Frenzy, A New Holy War, Dreamland, all pretty good stuff. So I need to check the lineup a minute. The lineup consists of, let's have a look, you've got a guy called Brandon Roundtree, a great multi-talented vocals. Alex Howard on guitar and does some of the vocals. Now I can't remember which one does the grunts and which one does the screams, but you know. Then you've got a really good tight rhythm section of Corey Thomas on bass, Ryan Tinsley on drums. And yeah, 2013 this album came out. And yeah, I don't know exactly where it fits to in the Within the Ruins canon, but I just know it's a pretty good album, and I have got other stuff out since. Yeah, pretty good. I would recommend this to metalheads everywhere. If you haven't heard them, give them a check out. Yeah, not much else to say really. Within the Ruins, Elite, 2013. It's metal. As is this one. Malicious Intent by Razer from 1986. There is the front. There is the back. Whip this out. There's no inlay card or anything in this. There we are. Viper Records, distributed by Roadrunner. And no run out groove messages on this either. Now, Razer were a Canadian thrash metal band, one of the first wave of Canadian thrashers. Very, very much in the Slayer mode. Very, very kind of sort of yeah. If you've heard bands like Slayer, Onslaught, etc., you know exactly where these guys are coming from. It's loud, it's nasty, it's in your face, and although Razer are a good band, this album isn't very good. Purely because it was produced by a guy called Walter Sarge Zoll, engineered by a guy called Sari Mastiga. And I sincerely hope that Razer sued their backsides off, because those guys couldn't mix their granny's birthday cake, let alone a metal album. Basically, the mix on this is all over the place. It's the drums are too heavy, but they're also and far too prominent in the mix, but they're also very muffled and kind of, I don't know, they just rumble around rather than give you any attack. The vocals have been kind of sort of like faded away to almost nothing, so they're almost inaudible. The guitars are unbalanced. It's all just a mess. It sounds like a 5-year-old produced it, which is a shame, because I've heard quite a few other Razer albums. I've got a couple of others digitally, and they are a damn good band. And with a decent producer behind them, they can do good things. But unfortunately on this one, it's shit. Yeah, there are some good songs on here. Well, the makings of good songs. Rebel Onslaught, Tear Me to Pieces, the title cut, High Speed Metal, Kiss My Ass. All, you know, fine kind of representatives of the thrash metal genre that's been screwed up by a couple of incompetents with a mixing desk. Yeah, I will not recommend this album to anybody. I just keep it as a kind of, I have actually sort of like sent people MP3s of this album just to say, well, if you're producing an album, avoid these. This is something to avoid. But yeah, do check out Razer, but unless you're a completionist who wants to finish a collection. And Razer are still going with about a dozen albums out now, but unless you're a completionist, Malicious Intent from 1986 is definitely one to avoid. Yuck. Okay, next up, we'll have a bit of this. This is Diaspora by the Kamikaze Test Pilots. There's the front. There is the back. There's no inlay card on this. Just the digipack. There's the inside. There's the disc itself. And also there's the band. I'm not sure when this was released. There's no markings on the disc, there's nothing on the sleeve. I don't know. I honestly don't know when this came out. 2010 maybe, round about then, but I'm not sure. Anyway, Kamikaze Test Pilots were a band from Zimbabwe. And interestingly enough, on their thanks list on here, they thank Robert Mugabe. Purely because during the White Exodus, from Zimbabwe after Mugabe took over and started storming farms and confiscating villages and just being exactly the same kind of racist that some of the whites in Zimbabwe were beforehand. No call for that kind of thing. Anyway, they were some of the ones that joined the exodus back to Britain, and they've said since that if Robert Mugabe hadn't kicked them out, they wouldn't have come to England. They wouldn't have got a record deal. They wouldn't have had, because they had some kind of minor success in the indie world kind of thing. They've become a bit of a cult band. This, I think, is their second EP they brought out when they came over to the UK. It's pretty sweet. My favourite cut on here is Kenny Rogers with a shotgun. It does what it says on the tin. But they also got The Drunk, The Inmates Are Taken Over the Asylum, Chicken, The Journey, Better Ways. All good stuff. Style-wise, they're kind of a bit grungy, a bit bit indie, bit alternative, but I've also got elements of traditional African music thrown in, which gives them a kind of interesting one, sort of raw music vibe. Although, you'll never see these guys at WOMED. But anyway, it's pretty good. I've got a few other bits and pieces by the Kamikaze Test Pilots, and they're all quite good. But this EP, Diaspora, is a good place to start. So Kamikaze Test Pilots, Diaspora. Not sure when it was released, but it was released. Okay, something a bit hippie now. Actually, I'll slide this out the vinyl sleeve temporarily. Here we go. Sweet America by Buffy, Sainte Marie. There we go. There's the front. There is the back. No inner sleeve or anything. ABC Records. No run out grooves. No. Right, now, Buffy Sainte Marie, Canadian singer-songwriter. In that kind of hippie chick, Joni Mitchell type vein. Carole King, all those kind of people. Very, very talented woman with a fantastic voice. Part, what's the, I think the correct term for it now, Native American, First Nation, Canadian, whatever. Part from there. And right from the start, she brought in elements of her Native American upbringing, or Native Canadian upbringing, into the songwriting, and was a big kind of campaigner for Native American land rights and reparations from some of the massacres that right across the US and Canada the First Peoples suffered. Had a great string of albums out, and she's still going, to be honest with you. But throughout the late 60s and the early 70s, had a string of great albums, did some great soundtrack work for movies like Soldier Blue, etc. And this album was the last one she released. This came out in 1976, and this was to be the last album she would release for about 10 years. It's a pretty good album. Title tracks, title track's pretty good. Where the Poets Go, Free the Lady, America My Home, Quadapil Valley, Saskatchewan, Honey Can You Hang Around, Ain't No Time for Worrying Blues. It's really good. She's got a haunting voice. It's a very, very sweet listen. Like I said, if you're into people like Joni Mitchell, Carole King, etc., you'll know exactly where this is from. However, certain people, especially in the US government and the Department of Home Affairs, didn't like Buffy Sainte Marie, trying to, as they put it, stir up. What's the word was used? Stir up tensions with the Native American Indians, man. And basically, while this album was coming out, it would have been Gerald Ford's. Was the president? I'm not sure. I can't remember. Or was it Carter? But anyway, certain people of the American government were writing to radio stations and putting pressure on them not to play her music, because especially areas where there were Native, sort of like First Nation or Native American reservations, etc. And they were saying that, you know, this woman's dangerous, she'll stir up people, it'll cause riots, and if you want to keep your license for your radio station, maybe you should think about blacklisting her. Consequently, she was finding, over this album, the one before it, she was finding it harder and harder to get any radio play or exposure. And then they started on concert promoters and started dissuading concert promoters and venues for booking her. Basically trying to kill the woman's career. Bastards. So she turned around and said, right, if you don't want my activism, I'll give up music and just become an activist. So she became an activist for Native American rights and culture, etc. Then, by some strange twist of fate, about a year later, she had a surprise meeting with a producer from Sesame Street, the American Kids puppet show, you know, Jim Henson and that lot. And he asked her, would she like to go on Sesame Street to sing one of her songs, but also to kind of talk about the Native American culture. Took her a bit of persuading, but she did. And for the next 10 years or so, she became the lady of Sesame Street that kind of talked about American legends and culture, and that's the kids of America. This kind of, and of course, you know, people start listening to Sesame Street in the Yanks, you know, when they're sort of 5, 6, 7. So by the time these guys got to about 16, having grown up to his Buffy Sainte Marie and discovered she was actually a very talented singer, they clamoured for her to go back, and she went back to recording and touring again, and she still keeps up to this day. A brave and powerful woman who's got a lot of respect from me, and a talented lady as well. Yeah, and if you like, sort of like your Joni Mitchells, your Carole Kings, even sort of some of the male protest stuff like Bob Dylan, etc. This will be right up your street. She is very, very good indeed. Any of her stuff's pretty damn fine. This is as good a place to start as any. Sweet America, Buffy Sainte Marie. Pardon me. Need a fisherman's friend. Okay, next up we'll have this one. This is Take Them On Your Own by the Black Rebel Motorcycle Club. There is the front with the guys in a dark tunnel. There is the back. There's the kind of inside the gatefold. There is the disc. I think when this album came out, was that 2002, I think, something like that. Maybe a bit earlier. Come on. Come to Johnny. one of these big fold out things. There we have the other sleeve of the band and some lyrics. And on that side we have artwork and lyrics and credits. (2003) this came out. Now this is their second album, the old BMRC guys, and I've got to admit, I think I mentioned this before when I played their debut album around a good few episodes ago. Black Rebel Motorcycle Club are a band that I've got to thank for being, well, not here today, but being involved with radio and that these days. Late 90s came along and I really didn't like grunge that much. I really didn't get on with Britpop, and I tended to retreat back to the year 1985 and really didn't listen to much new music. Then one day I got a mate come around to visit, and he goes, "Can we watch Late with Jules Holland?" So who's Holland? He mentioned some names down there, any of them. And I said, "Oh, right, then go for it. There's not much else on telly." So we put on Late with Jules Holland. If you're outside the UK, it's a Jules Holland's British TV presenter, ex-Squeeze keyboard player, and he does a show on BBC where he kind of showcases classic bands and new bands, and they play live, a couple in the studio kind of thing. Anyway, on came the Black Rebel Motorcycle Club doing Whatever Happened to My Rock and Roll, punk song off the first album. Absolutely blew my mind away, to the extent that was what broadcast on the Friday. The following day I'm down my local record store buying the CD of their debut album. Been a massive fan of Black River Motorcycle Club ever since. One goes far as to say they're a band that can do no wrong in my books, but they're a band that I like lots. Haven't got a complete set of their albums. I've got about 4 out of them. I think I've got about 8 out. Yeah, I think I've got 4 of their albums around somewhere. This is their second one. Although their first album is still my favourite, this is still pretty sweet. Highlights of this include 6-barrel shotgun. Yeah, it is absolutely brilliant. Generation, so I'm having trouble reading some of the song titles here. Suddenly, all great tracks. It's a little bit grungy, but it's heavy. It's got a kind of punk bite to it. It's just an intense listen. These guys write great songs. They play them at maximum volume, and it's got a very sludgy kind of almost stoner vibe as well. Yeah, absolutely brilliant stuff. If you haven't heard or really paid much attention to the Black River Motorcycle Club, I really, really recommend that you do. Of course, the name comes from, an added bonus is they take their name from the bike gang in the classic Marlon Brando film, The Wild One, which is one of the classic biker movies of all time. So, yeah, Black River Motorcycle Club, take them on your own, 2003. Corking record. Okay, next up, another CD. And I got this, on Wednesday, last Thursday for free. Didn't cost me a penny. This is the extended remaster of Megadeth, Peace Sells But Who's Buying. Originally from, was it 1986, I think it was? Somewhere around there anyway. Anyway, there's the front. I apologise, this has got stickers all over it, including one that says Bristol Central Library. I went into our local library to change my library books for me and the missus. Can't really see much behind the disc, but there is the disc. Pretty good, Nick. I did check this and the others I got, because I got about a dozen of these. And there's the booklet. This is it's the extended one. It's got additional sleeve notes, but from Dave Mustaine himself. 1986 originally. This is 2004, the reissue. Yeah, a bit damaged, but you know, like I said, I say I don't really collect for the packaging and the sleeves. I normally collect for the. Now got a vinyl coming up. Shows my point. I collect for the vinyl and the music. And despite the fact I played this and it's pretty good, I do have this on vinyl, but it's the original 1986 pressing, and this is the extended version with remixes of Wake Up Dead and Peace Sells, with a couple of other tracks on here, Black Friday and The Conjuring, I think were B-sides or whatever added. But yeah, Peace Sells, but who's buying the seminal Megadeth album? I've got a soft spot for Megadeth. I do like their stuff. I think it's their second or third album. Can't remember exactly which, but it's definitely their best right up to this date. They've never really matched this album. Besides, it's got such great cuts as the title cut, so Wake Up Dead, Good Morning Black Friday, My Last Words. All storming stuff. This is one of the seminal thrash albums of all time. It's, you know, it's up there with Onslaught's, the Falls, Metallica's Master of Puppets, Slayer's Rain in Blood as one of the classics of the genre. If you're a metalhead, you've probably heard this over and over and over again. If you haven't, then you're missing out. I could spend hours raging about this album, but just suffice to say, this is the classic Megadeth with the classic lineup doing their classic album, and every metalhead should have at least heard it, if not possess a copy. Yeah, Megadeth, Peace Sells, but who's buying? 1986, but this is the 2004 reissue. Okay, next up we'll have a Guitar Hero. Yeah, this is Wolf by Trevor Rabbin from 1981, I believe. It might be 82. I'll check on the disc and inside. There is the front. There is the back. Slide this out. There's no inlay card or anything. 1981. There we go, Chrysalis Records, and no run out groove messages, just cat numbers. Trevor Rabbin, another one that sort of renegade from Africa that found his fame in the UK. Trevor Rabbin was a South African born guitarist. Made the rather smart move of being, you know, of fleeing the apartheid South African regime, coming to the UK, and basically based himself out. I think it was London he based himself out of. Started out as a string of solo albums. Still doing solo albums, but he did 3. It was his eponymous debut. I think it was Face to Face and then List were his first 3 big solo albums. Laying down some pretty kind of slick kind of rock, sort of stuff that Gary Moore was doing around about this time, you know, albums like Sticky Fingers and that. Maybe it was a little bit hippier as we got to find out. Let's say on this album you've got the great rocker called Take Me to a Party. my favourite Trevor Rabbin track, just a really good air punchy, booze swilling anthem. Heard You Cry Wolf's a pretty good track. Do You Want Me, Looking for a Lady, Wolfman, Pain, Long Island. All good stuff. It's a good hard rock album, this. Then, not long after this came out, a series of chance meetings led to him joining Yes, where he did a couple of great albums. Well, he did one really good album, 90125, one okayish album, Big Generator, and then one absolute pile of pants album, Reunion, before going solo again. Although he does turn up on various Yes, guesting on various Yes bits and pieces ever since. Sweet player, but don't go into this album expecting it to sound like Yes, because it doesn't. You've got, and also worth noting that on here, drums are Simon Phillips, who's played with everyone from AC/DC to Judas Priest. Bass is done by Jack Bruce from Cream, and keyboard player is Manfred Mann. So, you know, he's got some pretty heavy hitters behind him, and yeah. Stevie Lange and Chris Thompson on the backing vocals. Stevie Lange, who had that massive song with Remember My Name, superb vocalist, and the "Whoa, Body for Home" adverts. Yeah, her backing vocals on there. Yeah, it's sweet. Trevor Rabbin's solo stuff is nothing like Yes. Well, I haven't heard the stuff he's done since he left Yes, but the first three albums sound nothing like Yes, but they're pretty damn good. Yeah, Trevor Rabbin, Wolf, 1982. Damn fine record. Okay, next up we'll have a bit of this. This is a great Disgrace by Same Old Story. There's the front. There is the back. Engineer Records, 2011 this came out. Pop this open. There is the... I hate jewel cases. There's the disc. Booklet. Oh no, it's not a booklet, this one I keep forgetting. Folds out, you've got a really nice lot of lyrics on there, and oh, that ran away. And then my missus loved this when I showed this to her the other day. The artwork folds out thus, with a great, lovely, long kind of almost like comic strip, cartoon Viking art images of the band. So for those of you for the fancy barbarian art people, if you're watching this, you're right up your street. Yeah, Lisa Linnell. If you ever watch this, I salute you for your artwork on this album. Now, Same Old Story. I had a bit of trouble tracking down information by these, because this has been sitting in my rack since this album came out. And again, it was a promo that I got sent. I couldn't find a press release. I don't remember if it actually had one, so I couldn't look at it that way. And I took a bit of finding to find out about this lot, because Same Old Story is a popular name for bands, and I came across at least 3 others until I've actually pinned down this album. Apparently, this lot was Swedish. They're out of Gothenburg. They're kind of indie punk. I won't go as far as say pop punk. They haven't got that kind of nihilistic youthful sneer, but they're kind of indie punk, and they're pretty sweet with it. There's a number of really killer tracks on here. Don't Blame the Penguins, Study Your Bible Belt, Eric Fell in Love, Stand Alone, David Koresh. All great pieces of music performed by 4 Swedish people that know how to perform. I'll give you their name. There's Andreas on guitar and vocals, Matthias on bass and vocals, Simon on lead guitar, and Eric on drums. Whoever you guys are, you've done a sweet job on this album. Apparently they followed this up with an EP and then did a name change, and I can't remember what the name was changed to. I did write it down, but I haven't got my notes anywhere near me at the moment. So yeah, and but after that I kind of lost trace of them, which is a shame, because this album shows potential plus. This is a great record, and if you ever find yourself stumbling across a copy, do yourself a favour, pick it up, or if you can track down a copy online, give it a listen, because this is really good shit. Yeah, 2011, same old story with a great Disgrace. Okay, next up, classic example of me collecting records for the vinyl and the music, not the condition of the sleeve. I mean, look at this one. Absolutely battered, but it's a charity shop job, 50p, so I ain't going to complain. C for the Tillerman, Cat Stevens. 19, oh, I can't remember anyway, so yeah. Anyway, there's the front. There's the back. Slide this out. 1970, of course. There's the disc, and the disc is actually, despite the state of the sleeve, the disc is actually in pretty good nick. No run out groove messages. Of course, Cat Stevens these days goes under the name Yusuf Islam. He converted to Islam in mid-70s. But back in the days when he was Cat Stevens, still performing, still doing the same material, but just under a different name. Yeah, this is probably his second or third album, and this was the one that kind of made him worldwide. This is the one that's got some of his biggest hits on here, best known tracks. Let's have a look what you got. You got Wild World, Hard Headed Woman, Father and Son, Mars from Nowhere, Longer Boots, Into the White, Sad Lisa. It's a great album. It's kind of post Donovan, superb singer-songwriterism, just sort of soft rock as well, maybe. Just a great record. Joined on here by Alan Davis on guitar. No, not that Alan Davis. Harvey Burns on drums, John Ryan on bass, and Jack Roastin on violin, with Cat Stevens doing rhythm guitar and keyboards. Just a sweet record. It just great one for just putting on in the background and just, you know, as you're working or whatever. That's why I listen to it a lot. Yeah, I do need another copy, or at least a better sleeve than this one, because like I said, this is well battered, but it was like this when I got it. 50p from a charity shop, and I thought, the sleeve's knackered, but check the record. The record's fine. So yeah, if you like your kind of laid back hippie singer-songwriter stuff, I do recommend a bit of Cat Stevens, and this is as good an album as any. Actually, probably his best. Yeah, T for the Tillerman, 1970, Cat Stevens, cracking. Okay, our final CD, we're going to go a bit nihilistic, a bit punk. Now, I can't remember whether I actually covered this one or not already, a good few episodes ago, but I thought, sod it, I'll give it a revisit if we have. Here we are, this is The Crack by the Ruts. From 1979. There is the front. There is the back. Pop this open. Again, this is a 2004 or 2005 remaster reissue. there's the, it hasn't got any bonus tracks on here. Sad, but there's the Ruts themselves. There's just a catalogue, Virgin Records catalogue there, of their various punk stuff, including the Pistols, Yar Wobble, the Penetration, Public Image, XCC, etc. Anyway, Ruts, Manchester band, group of spotty Herberts went to see the Pistols and thought, well, we can do that, and basically the Ruts were formed. This is a their debut album, contains some of their best known tracks: Babylon's Burning, Dope for Guns, Yar Wars, Criminal Mind, Human Punks, I Ain't Sophisticated, Give Youth a Chance. All great music. One of the seminal punk records. You know, if I was going to recommend sort of like 5 must-have punk albums from the UK punk scene of the 70s, it would be Nevermind the Bollocks by the Pistols. It would be London Calling by the Clash. It would be Inflammable Material by Stiff Little Fingers. Which I think would be probably the first Generation X album, and it would be this. Or maybe Sham 69, or maybe I'll do 10 albums, I don't know. But anyway, this would be in my recommended must-have punk albums from that period. Most of you that are into punk have probably got it. Those of you that haven't, why not? Because, yeah, it's just great. It's seminal. It rocks. It's the Ruts. It's the crack. Enough said. Okay, last one. A band I do possess quite a few of their albums, but I don't think I've actually waved in front of the camera on this series. Here we are. This is for 1984. This is The Works by Queen. There's the front. There is the back. I don't know why Roger Taylor's being all left on his own while the rest are in a line, and Roger Taylor's been chucked down the bottom. Maybe he'd been naughty. I don't know. Whip this out. There's the side with the lyrics on. And there's the credit side. Slide this out. There's the disc and label. And no running up message, just a catalog number there. Do I really need to say much about Queen? One of the most important British bands of all time. You know, from their debut album, that was it, just Queen 1972, right through the 70s. You know, Bohemian Rhapsody, albums like Views of the World, Sheer Heart Attack, etc. Classic stuff, kind of blending kind of heavy rock with Freddie Mercury's operatic vocals, and you know, Brian May's classically trained guitaring and astronomer. You know, is even a qualified astronomer is Brian May. Just one of the best and tightest British bands ever. And I'm glad and I'm proud to say that at their last ever gig with this lineup, where the last one that Freddie Mercury ever played, Nebworth Park, 1986, I was there. Not knowing it was going to be the last gig, but you know, at least I can turn around and say I saw the classic Queen lineup once. But anyway, early 1980s, they tend to lose it a bit. There's a couple of albums, The Game and Hot Space, that were iffy, to say the least. Well, actually, Hot Space is more than iffy, it stank. But, you know, they tried to go disco, but it didn't really work. But 1984, they came back with The Works. Not their best album. And I mean, of their kind of later work, I do prefer the one that came after this, Kind of Magic. But this is still pretty good, and it was the one that kind of was the return to form from Queen after a couple of kind of misfires and the kind of patchy soundtrack album. you just have to look what's on here. Radio Gaga, It's a Hard Life, I Want to Break Free, Hammer to Fall, Is This the World We Created. Other kind of best known tracks. Other ones include Tear It Up, Man on the Prowl, Keep Passing the Open Window, Machines. It's all pretty sweet. Like I said, not my favourite album, because I don't think there are places where I don't think this hangs together quite as well as some of their other albums. But it's still damn fine. It's still a great British band doing what they do best. And, you know, I don't think I need to say to anyone that if you haven't heard Queen, check this out. Because I think most people would have heard Queen. But, you know, they are, again, I will say they're one of these bands that, that to get the actual depth of them, you need to look beyond the big hit singles. Yeah, Bohemian Rhapsody is a brilliant track, but it's been played to death. Same for things like Killer Queen and, you know, Under Pressure and that. Explore the albums. You know, there you'll find the real gems of Queen stuff. So, and if you want to hear some of this album, like I said, I keep saying that I can't really do needle drops or play samples on here because of the YouTube algorithm. Will give me copyright strikes. So I did try it and I took the video down. But if you tune into the Sunday Rock Show on BCFM tomorrow, it'll be the 29th, I think it is. You'll, the 25th, tomorrow's BCFM show, as the day after this video gets released. I am opening the show with a couple of cuts off this album, so as a tie into this episode. So yeah, Queen, The Works, 1984, pretty damn good. Anyway, so that's it. Like I said, check out the radio shows, because I do drop tracks off the albums that I feature on these. Not every album I feature on these videos, but quite a few of them I'll drop tracks into either the Sunday Rock Show on BCFM, which is available worldwide through the Rock Radio Network, or on astroradio.earth, which is a worldwide station anyway. So I do drop tracks from albums that I feature on here into those shows. And yeah, so that's it. What's your opinion on them? Exactly how bad do you think the mix on Razer's Malicious Intent is? What is your favourite Queen album? Have you come across the Kamikaze Test Pilots? Buffy Sainte Marie? Your opinions on her, have you heard them? All good stuff. And Cat Stevens, is he rock and roll? Anyway, comments in the comment section down below. All I ask is that you keep them polite. You know, I don't mind people disagreeing with me. Just keep the abuse out of it. Not I've had any, but not on this video, not on these videos anyway, but I have on others. And finally, like and subscribe if you want to know more, and it helps boost the kind of get the word around. I'm not out to make money out of this. This channel's not monetised. Yes, I want to talk about music to as many people as possible. So until next week, peeps. Look after yourselves, and I love yous. Bye.